Um,
Hi, this is
wh-
Carmen Turner Schott. Welcome to Deep Soul Divers Astrology, and thanks for listening in. My guest tonight is Miss Desiree Amby, and she is a long
Santana.
Santana, Desiree Santana now. Yes. And when I knew her, I call her Des, but her real name is Desiree. And so I'm going to read her bio and then I'm going to welcome her in and we're going to talk a little bit about Scorpio energy and dreams and astrology and all kinds of fun stuff tonight and her coaching business. So Miss Desiree Santana is born and raised in Hawaii, the island of Oahu. Am I saying that right? She is wife and mom of two children. She grew up playing basketball, judo, and soccer, and had committed her time playing soccer for her high school and college. She connects with life and others by being outdoors, like at the beach, and going on scenic hikes and being involved with her children's extracurricular activities and playing sports and music and dance. She has her bachelor's in psychology from Hawaii Pacific University and her master's in marriage and family therapy. Since 2004, she's been in social services, advocacy, and counseling field. A fun fact is that she lived in Germany from 2012 to 2015, and that is when and where she learned her spiritual path. Since 2020, she has opened her spiritual life coaching LLC in Hawaii and holds a holistic license for her life coaching business. So, Des, welcome. I had,
Hi.
you and I go way back, and I've learned so much from you. When we first met about what it means to be a Scorpio. So for the listeners out there, I want to talk a little bit about your chart and kind of our journey, and how we met and just how I learned a lot from you about that Scorpio energy. And we were even talking about writing a book together at one point. We just got really
Yes.
busy, and I was reading through some of the things you sent me about being a Scorpio. I found that in my emails. So yeah, it was cool. I was looking at that. So when I met Des, we were in Germany and we lived over there. And it was really interesting because before I met her, I was in a different job and I had had a dream that I was going to get a new job. And in the dream, I was working with someone with dark black hair that was real long and that had, very, very beautiful. And I thought, well, they're from Hawaii or they're from somewhere, and I just kind of got a glimpse of someone in my dream. And some people at work were like, well, this lady is supposed to get the job over there, and the lady had blonde hair and blue eyes. And I remember telling my coworker, no, that's not who I'm going to be working with. And that winter, it was like December, it was Christmas, and I remember I was in Switzerland, and my family had came to visit my parents, and I was in a hotel somewhere, and I had a very vivid dream about a very beautiful woman, lady came to me and asked me to please look after my daughter. And she had dark hair and was beautiful and kind of faded away. And I didn't know who it was. And I kind of let it go. I've always dreamed things. And then I didn't start working in the job with Des until January. And that's when I got to the office and I met Des. I'm like, oh, she was the girl in my dream that I remember working with. And so we started our bond. And Des, I don't even know how it all started when we connected. I don't know if you want to say how you remember it. I know when I came over, but
I want to say the first day we were in a I was in a training, and I forget what building it was, but I was in a training and you came in and introduced yourself to me. It was the first day. And you're like, hey, I think it was lunchtime. You said, hey, it's lunchtime. Do you have time to come to lunch with me so we can talk and whatnot? And I told you, I think I had to go with my ex-husband, well, husband at the time. I had to go with him to do some paperwork. So I told you I couldn't, but maybe next time. And
yeah,
then I think it was the following day or a couple of days later, that's how you started to talk about the dream. And you mentioned that when you asked me to lunch, you wanted to talk about it
yeah.
and let me know about it. And I remember being kind of like not scared, but just I don't even know the word. Surprised, I guess. I was surprised that the dream about the dream you told me. The dream about my mom, is that correct?
Yeah, if
And
you want to talk a little bit about that, how we figured that out.
oh
I
yes.
didn't know I didn't know who it was. And then I met you, and then it all kind of came out, and then more and more things came. We can kind of talk about the cool.
Right. Okay. You want me to talk about that right now?
Sure, whatever. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Okay. So, how did that come out? I think you were describing the person in your dream who came to you, and then I asked you, "Is that my mom?" And then you said you weren't sure, and that's when I started to talk about my mom, how she passed away in February 2008,
Yeah.
and I think I was just kind of describing to you, what she looks like, and that's I believe how we figured out that it was my mom that came to you in your dream.
Yes. And I think we started putting the pieces together because your life really started changing, I think
Mhm.
when we first met, and at that time. And you were helping me and I was helping you, and we, I won't say a lot about what we did, but we had a really hard job. And and what I remember when we would go to lunch, I still talk about you to my friends and coworkers now. When we went to lunch, I remember we were just so tired, and we didn't always get to go to lunch, but when we did, we didn't even want to talk. We were so exhausted. We
Yeah.
just each other, and we'd eat, and then go back. And but it was I think a really challenging time in both our lives. But astrologically, I can't remember if you were going through your Saturn return at that time, or you had already been through it.
This was
How old were you?
2013. This was 2013
Yeah.
when I started working. So how I was born in 82.
So
I think I
you
was in my Saturn return.
I think so, because I think we were, kind of I was looking at your chart and stuff, and I really wanted to have you on here because you're a eighth and 12th house person, which
Yes.
is what my research is. And I mean, you have a eighth house moon like me. Your moon's in Leo, mine's in Aries, and then you have, your South Node and Mars and Neptune in the 12th house. You have a stellium in Scorpio, Sun, Venus, Mercury, Jupiter, all in Scorpio, midheaven Scorpio. So
Yeah.
you're a phoenix and an angel. You're both. And so when we met, you were very open to astrology and dreams, and I know I would talk all this stuff with you, when we were at lunch and things like that. And
Yeah. Mhm.
what was really cool, what I remember is um that was probably the most powerful time in my life, where I went through a lot of changes when you and I worked together, and I think you did too. And I
Mhm.
kind of started to trust my intuition more. I think, after I met you and stuff like that, because we went through a lot together, and
Right.
and I remember before I started working there, I had a job that I really loved, and it was really easy and fun. And I knew when I was going to accept this new job, which ended up working with you, I knew that it was going to be hard. And I remember walking down the hall and something told me, "Oh man, I'm going to have to be strong." And I went to bed one night, and before I started working with you, before I met you, and I dreamed about a tiger. I was in the mountains with the snow with my husband and daughter, and I saw this female tiger was there waiting for me. And she just looked me in the eyes. It was so vivid and deep. And when I woke up, I knew I had to get a picture of a tiger and hang it in my new
Right.
office. And so there's a funny story about this. I became the tiger lady. And then we'll tell the story about Des, what her animal totem ended up being. And but the tiger, was a symbol of strength and power. And for me to be strong, it was really a warning to me, really, that I had to learn to be stronger, and for this job that we were going to do. And so I found a picture. I happened to find one of I still got it right behind me, the tiger holding the baby cub. And that came from, and I got that in Germany, and I hung that in my office. If you remember, it was hanging right there in my door. And
Mhm.
I got little or little tiger statues, tigers, and put them on my desk, just kind of for protection, because I knew I was supposed to. And then I remember one day you came in my office, and I'd had a really vivid dream about some owls. And I had never dreamed about owls in my life. I still can see the dream, Des, like it's a real memory. It was that vivid. I was on an island, and I didn't even think in my mind at the time that it was Hawaii, because you're from Hawaii. I didn't even think it was. And I was standing, I was looking, and there were all these owls. There were brown owls, but then there was a white owl. And the white owl turned its head, and its eyes were big and black, and it looked right at me. And it was so deep. I knew it meant something. And then I woke up. So I think you happened to come in my office to help me with something, and you're back behind me. And I remember I was on the computer, and I said, do you know what owls, what do owls mean to you? I had a weird dream about owls. And then I remember you got chills. You're like, oh my gosh. And then, so, you want to share kind of what happened with that, and then we can tell, how
Yeah.
the owl woman in the office.
Yeah, I remember when you shared with me about having dreams about owls, and you described about the white owl with the big black eyes, and I I did. I remember having chills, and I said, Carmen, that's one of our Almakua's God, like one of our gods' protection. In Hawaii, for us Native Hawaiians, we have Almakuas, and there's different animals that could represent our God, our Almakua. And you know, I don't know exactly which one is mine, but owls is one of the Almakuas for Hawaiians. So that's what I instantly connected with when told me about your dream. Yeah.
Yeah. And didn't you say something that your mother used to read you a story about that owl or something? Or there was
Uh,
something
oh man.
like the protection. Yeah, like something with protection, kind of like the tiger. It was kind of a warning thing,
Right.
and it was cool.
Yeah, yeah.
It was,
It definitely resembles, it's a symbol of protection. Yeah.
how do you say the owl's name? How do you say it?
Uh
I like it.
well,
Yeah, and it's a white owl. Yeah, it's so interesting because then I said we got to get you an owl and we have to get some owls in your office, and you bought some owl pillows, and we got you some owl statues.
I remember I found cartoon looking owls, and you came in, you're like, Dad, what are these? And I forget
No.
the word you used, but like, not this. And then you brought in some really nice, beautiful owls. I still have them.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
I
Yeah,
think you bought me three, like
yeah.
one kind of big one medium one, and one small one. And the small one I have at my office.
That's amazing. I was like, yeah, those pillows aren't going to work. You need like some real strong, like real owls here to protect you, like not these cartoon pillow things. No. So I remember that. And so yeah, and so people would come in and they'd see all these tigers in my office. Then they go next door to Des's office, and she had all these owls. Or like, you guys are like the tiger woman and the owl lady. And I tell you, I think you probably saw my Aries eighth house moon come out more than anyone ever has in my life when I worked with you. Probably,
Oh my gosh, yes.
I think I probably lost my temper quite a bit when I was in that job. What I remember, it was an intense in time, and I remember, asking you. I remember, because my North Node is in Scorpio.
Yes.
So I thought, I'm a Taurus girl at heart, South Node Taurus. How am I ever going to be a Scorpio? Like, I can't even be that at all. Like, and I remember asking you, how do I be a Scorpio? And you're like, how do you do it? And I
I
remember,
remember you asking me that almost every day. And I think my very first response to you was, just be like me.
I know, I'm like, but I don't know how. And you're like, just cut it. You just cut it off. You just, So tell the listeners, she is a Scorpio Phoenix here, guys. She's got all this Scorpio. So for Scorpios listening, or people out there that want to learn more about Scorpio and how to be one, if your North Node is there, and then your moon in the eighth also makes you very much a Phoenix, and gives you that energy. What's it like being a Scorpio? Like, what are tips you would give to the listeners that are interested in astrology?
Right. Um, Well, the first question, what it's like being a Scorpio. Well, that's where when you started teaching me about everything about astrology and you're like, Des, you're meant to do this. I was like, oh no. I remember we were laughing. I remember we were laughing that first time you told me that I was meant to, do spiritual work and somehow like help out with read charts but anyhow, from that day forward, through the process of just learning from you, about astrology and the layers of astrology, I had to figure out, okay, what part of me is the eighth house Scorpio, and what's the other part of me that is the 12th house, and kind of like try to figure out what I have all these different energies and influences, but which one's which? That's what I was trying to figure out throughout the process. And I feel like at this point, I'm able to figure it out a little more confidently. So the eighth house Scorpio part of me is where, how do I explain it? The way I'm able to identify it is like, if I feel like I'm um if I feel like I'm going through like some kind of darkness, or going through like a transformative phase, or if I'm doing things that's meant to like just kind of not really cut people out, but cut the things out that doesn't really serve me, and I cut it completely and just move forward. Like those are the parts of me that I'm able to identify, that that's the Scorpio side of me. And
So it's like a strength. When you say cut, how are you emotionally, mentally, like mind, body, spirit, cutting off the energy, or to protect yourself, like to survive kind of thing? Or is it just like how do you describe it?
right. And that's a very good question, because there's times when I can cut either the energy or the person like out of my life without even feeling bad about it. But for the most part, it's like, and this is the thing that I always explain to people. As a Scorpio, eighth house person, I feel things really, really deeply. I feel it. It's my day-to-day life feels intense.
Yes.
However, I don't show it. It's not like in my facial expression, in how I show how I am. It doesn't come off that way. And that's why people get confused. They're like, you're not a Scorpio. Like a lot of them say, I don't like Scorpios, but you're the one Scorpio I like. It's like a lot of people would tell me that. And so I just feel like I feel like there are certain things that I just kind of cut off energetic wise, but then inside of me, it's still there. So I go through a process of like a healing. I go within myself to just kind of heal whatever that energy or whatever that situation is that I'm trying to cut off. And I just keep going forward with that. And it's pretty much, I go forward and don't look back.
See, there you go. So for the listeners out there that want to learn how to cut maybe a person out of their life that maybe is unhealthy, or that isn't treating them right, or how do you do that? What's your advice to them? How can they do this? Tap it. How do they harness Scorpio energy and tap into that kind of strength? Because I think that's the strength of Scorpio that you have, is to move on from things that aren't serving you or that are hurting you.
Yeah. And I've had to cut a handful of people out of my life. But you know what? Even though I was able to cut them out for several years, they somehow come back in. But when they come back in, it's a new chapter. It's not the same what it was before. So there's that transformative process. And it's I guess it's better in as far as for those that I have cut out in the past and then they came back. Um, whether it's a friendship or relationship, it's better than what it was prior. But in the process of doing it, it was hard. It definitely isn't easy. It's a mindset that you have to put yourself in. It's a lot of self-talk, positive self-talk that you have to do to yourself and remind yourself that, you know,
Yeah.
this is going to be hard, but you need to do this for yourself. Allow yourself to go through the healing process, the crying, the like, you know, whatever it is you need to do to go through your healing process. And and the thing with being a Scorpio is we tend to heal on our own. We don't reach out to others
There you go.
unless if we absolutely need to. And I do reach out unless, you know, at the very, very end after I have done my own inner work.
Oh, wow.
Um,
So it's private.
yeah.
Would you say Scorpios deal with crisis and change in private, like
Yes.
very much on their own? That's what I see too. Like they don't want to show they're vulnerable, to others, or show weakness, or to burden others, I think is also what some of them tell me. Because
Yes.
like, you want to be okay first before you before, and people wouldn't even know. This is like, I'm wondering if you feel this way. Like with Scorpio, I feel like they can be so secretive and they can
Yes.
seem fine on the outside, but
Mm-hmm.
inside I can feel their energy, and I can feel when they're not okay, but they won't show it on the outside.
Yes.
So I think I sense them, I can feel their energy because I'm empathic. But to me, Scorpios are resilient, one of the most resilient signs, because they rule the eighth house, which is the house of rebirth, transformation, growth, healing, all these things. So, but for you, like, it's interesting, how have you kind of resonated with that Phoenix energy, that I talk about in my new book, Phoenixes and Angels, because you got both Phoenix and Angel in you,
Yeah.
what does being a Phoenix mean to you? Like, do you resonate with that symbol of being a Scorpio stellium and eighth houser?
Well, yes, for sure. I do resonate with that at this point in my life, and at least I would say within the past 8 years since I moved back home. Prior to that, when I first was learning all this from you, I don't know what I would have said. I think I was still kind of like, what is all this about? But I trust Carmen, so I'm just gonna go with it. um, but yes, currently within the past like 8 years, I was able to um really resonate with the Phoenix because I was going through like the initial separation back in 2015, right? And was going through a really, really dark time. And I remember, that going through the darkness, kind of like I remember talking to you a lot as well while it's going through it. But in a way, I was also like just trying to keep it all like, I don't even know how to explain it. I was trying to like deal with it on my own
Yeah.
and go through that darkness and whatnot and go through that. And I went through like a transformative phase during that time. So when you talk about like Phoenix, like when a person goes to the darkness and comes through the other end as a Phoenix, they go through that transformation. That's what I resonate with, because I feel like with the Scorpio energy, that's what they have to go through. They have to go within themselves, use their inner resources, their strengths, and to be able to heal from, all whatever it is, all that darkness, all that hidden those things that's like hidden from others, whatever secrets and darkness that they've been going through, like they got to heal, they got to go through it and heal in the dark alone for them to come out new is what I felt like I went through.
Yeah.
And the way I explain it to, even with my clients who are learning about astrology and how to use it, how to use it to in our life coaching sessions, I explain to them um, with with being a Scorpio, that's what it's really about. It's the healing, it's healing within yourself. The healing process is not going to feel good at all because there's different kind of healings. When people think, oh, therapy, counseling, healing, they think white color, like vacation, a night, like some, most people think like, oh, this will feel great. And it's not. And that's the Scorpio feeling. The healing process is horrible. It's painful. It feels like you're being stabbed. Like those are the things that um I experienced when I was going through the healing process and the transformation before I came out on the other end.
So as a Scorpio stellium and an eighth house moon person, do you think it's do you see this from a lot of Scorpios and eighth house people? Like, I know you're in my eighth house astrology group and in my 12th house group. Do you see that kind of theme? I feel like that really I'm kind of the same way too, in a lot of ways. I have a lot of planets in the eighth house, and I do try to, the things I've been through, people wouldn't even know that I was struggling because I still would put a smile on my face and I would like hide it. And I think it really is that part of eighth housers and Scorpios that don't want to burden other people. And I think sometimes, at my tips, for Scorpios and Phoenixes in my book is it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to show emotion. It's okay to be vulnerable. Because that's the thing with eighth housers and Scorpio, we need to trust someone fully to let them see that we're struggling. And I think, even when we do trust people, we just try to do it on our own. And so I know you've probably been through more than one death and rebirth, called a dark night of the soul. It's probably not your first, it wasn't your first time, when we met
Right.
in Germany that you went through something, but it was a big one. And I think you've been through many of them, and I have too. And and I just really want to tap into your knowledge to share with these other eighth house folks and these people that have a lot of Scorpio energy. And we can get into the 12th house here in a little bit, but you have that as well. But what can help a Scorpio heal? What do you think helps a Scorpio heal, and what are some tips you would give for eighth housers to kind of overcome that heavy energy, because it is a very, very serious energy, that we have, because we're serious. We feel things so deep. It's like so deep you don't have words for it. I don't know if you feel like a lot of
Oh,
Scorpio,
yes.
like you don't know how to verbalize what you're feeling because it's so deep. So like, does music help you? Does art, what things do you do that help you kind of express those emotions and stuff as a Scorpio stellium? Sun, Mercury, Venus, Jupiter, all in Scorpio for you. And then you've got an eighth house moon.
Right. So the things that help me, I do a lot of expressive writing. So it's really, there's no rhyme or rhythm to it. It's just writing, whatever comes out at the moment. So I usually have like, I guess journal books, writing books, to do that. When my mom passed away, I wrote every day in a journal book, every day for at least a year or so, until I felt like I was at peace. And I wrote, it was writing to my mom. I would write to her every single day. So that was my way of healing and grieving, with that transformative phase I went through. And then in other areas or other yeah, in other situations, I would I would say writing, but also I'm a very like physical person, so I need to like work out. I need to hit a punching bag. I
Yes.
need to like release things like
The energy.
um
The
yes.
yeah, you need to exactly instead of hold it in because when Scorpio in eighth house rules the female reproductive system, in the reproductive areas. So that's where we're vulnerable, right? If we don't express the energy because it's
Right.
intense. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So those are my two things that works for me.
Yeah.
Um
Yeah.
yeah.
I think journaling, yeah, I think that's kind of some of the tips I give is that, if you can't speak it, just, write, just start writing and then you can burn it, rip it up, whatever, write a letter to someone, if that hurt you or if you felt betrayed, by and it's interesting when the thing that was always hard for me is, you talked about, being able to cut people off. That was really hard for me because I got too much 12th house. So I had to learn to have boundaries and it's okay to say no. And I don't have to help all these people, right? Even if they hurt me, I don't have to let them back in my life. So, I'm learning to be a Scorpio. I don't have all your Scorpio. So, getting there, my North Node, I'm in there now. It was hard and it hurt really bad to move towards Scorpio, but I feel like now I feel more like a Scorpio now, but the thing I have trouble with is when the people that aren't good for us or that hurt us when they come back. And like you talked about that, when they come back, I learn now that I need to shut that. I can't let that door open.
Mm.
And you mentioned that it changed for you. That now were these people that came back, did you have to have them in your life for other reasons, practical reasons, or are there people you haven't let back in or did you let them all back in? You mentioned like it changed later
Right. I
but you
think
let them
it
back
was just
in.
the timing. It was the timing. Like they're not back in and it's like everything is peachy and they're back in to some degree.
Okay.
And then there's boundaries and they know it because I tell them specifically, what these boundaries are. And, we can still have um, a friendship or whatever, not a relationship like a relationship, but whatever the relationship is, we can have that kind of connection, but there's boundaries and they know not to cross over it.
Do
So
you
of course
do you trust them though? Do you trust them?
um no, I would say, well, one person in particular, I would say no.
Yeah.
And so that's why I say that that relationship or friendship is different,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And they
Is
also know not to cross over because if they do, that's it. It's done.
So you may
Yeah.
give it, so as a Scorpio, you may give one more chance, but
Yeah.
there's a boundary and there's a wall now that might be up. So it's not as free and open as you were with them before.
Right. But
So you're
I can,
more cautious.
oh, of course, of course. But I can still like laugh. And it's not like fake laugh. We can still like joke
Sure,
around, still have that connection.
sure.
Um, but I know who my people are that I can go to, who my people are that I can trust.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
let me ask you this. So, as a Scorpio, one of the biggest things is a Phoenix is learning to forgive other people, and let go of the past and move forward fully and forgive. And I guess what's your experience with that, with betrayal and having to forgive people that maybe hurt you? Like, I know, it may have led you to being a counselor. We can talk about that too, how you became, got into therapy and helping people, which
Mhm.
is a very much a Scorpio, eighth house thing. But, what helped you forgive those that you may have felt betrayed by? Like, what helped you really become a Phoenix and let go of the past and things like that?
Right. Um, right now I'm thinking of all the different situations and one of it that came to my mind is truth. As once I find out the truth, in that relationship, in that friendship, whatever it is, that truth helps me let it go and move forward. And it's crazy because it's like it's simple, but that's the key, in being
Knowing
able to move forward and let go.
knowing the truth. So like if so not knowing the details, not knowing or being kept in the dark is hard. So if you have the truth about everything that they did or happened or whatever, then you're able to forgive and kind of move on. Or
Right. So I'll give an example without going into details.
sure.
So like in a lot of my experiences, I've, relationships, I've been like the other people have been the ones to blame me and keep putting blame on me for whatever it is that happened in that
Yeah.
relationship. And I would believe, I wouldn't believe, but then I was like, well, I don't know, like, so. And then when that relationship ends, and then that's usually when I find out about the truth. When the relationship ends and I find the truth out in one way or another, I'm able to, whatever anger I had towards that person, or whatnot, like I'm able to let it go. I find the truth out, and 9 out of 10 times that person will apologize and will admit it, and then I'm able to let it go and move forward. Yeah.
So tell us a little bit, how you decided to become, study psychology and become a counselor, and tell us a little bit about what you do to help people heal, as a Scorpio. What do you do? And I know you've got the midheaven Scorpio, so I know what you're doing, but kind of tell us some things you started out and kind of why you wanted to go into this field.
Um, if my sister ever came across this, she would be so mad at me. So I remember being little. I don't know how old I was, probably like 5, 6 years old. Me and my sister, she's like 8 years older than me, and we would share a room at
Okay.
that time. There was 4 of us, so I'm the youngest of 4. And I remember she would talk to me about her problems, whatever problems she was having, friendship problems, boyfriend problems, and she would talk about wanting to run away. Um, and this would be at night, while I'm sleeping in my bed, or like not sleeping, but laying in my bed. And
Yeah.
she's like, we shared a room at that time. So she'd be in the room too, like just either whether she'd be crying or just venting. But so I got to experience at a very young age, being that person that people came to.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and for some reason in high school, I want to say by the time I was a freshman or sophomore in high school, I already knew I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to take psychology as my college, college focus or degree. But I think throughout the years, I noticed that, my friend, like I was always like that go-to person. Um, I would listen a lot and help. So that was just kind of the theme throughout my early childhood, throughout high school, college. Yeah.
Attracting people that had pain, that had problems, and they wanted to share their dark secrets with you, right? Because
Yes.
You're a Scorpio. You just
Yes. Especially
like
at
the light.
I
You draw it.
I noticed like even at random places, like not random, but like if I'm by myself, usually when I'm by myself, like let's say at a park or I'm sitting at a bench on school campus, because I went to Hawaii Pacific University. We're on like like the way that the college is, it has like a lot of businesses, and then there's a lot of homeless as well. And I remember like when I'd be sitting on the bench by myself, that's the key.
Yeah.
That's when I attract um people who just come up and start talking about their life.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I do recall many instances like that, especially in Germany. That happened quite a lot at the parks.
Yeah.
But I had my kids, they would be, oh, and that's the thing, they would be playing, so they weren't by me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And did
So,
you, and I never knew what that was until I started learning astrology. Because when I was young, the same thing, people would come up to me in the grocery store and, or come up to me at a ballpark or somewhere, wherever I was, and start telling me really deep, dark, really serious things like, that
right,
dad died, or they broke up and they were depressed, or that they didn't really want to be here. I mean, I've had people come up to me that really were, I was worried about, and so I wanted to learn how to work in a crisis, like how to help people like in a serious thing, because I'm like, what is it about me, why are they telling me all this, and so I was the same way, and after researching astrology, I realized, well, it's that Scorpio energy, it's that eighth house, those planets in the eighth house, sun, moon, or if you have more than 3 planets in the eighth, or if you have a lot of Scorpio energy, that's what I hear from them, from thousands of people from all over the world tell me the same thing, that's one of the patterns that I've observed is that they attract people that want to share all their secrets with them, and
right,
very deep psychological things, like their problems. And so a lot of us go into counseling and social work and psychology. So, and it sounds like, you're in your soul mission, you're doing practical service, you're helping people, you're coaching, I know you said that's what you're coaching, and you used to work with survivors of domestic violence, sexual assault, different things, which is very Scorpio, midheaven there. And you have your Scorpio stellium's in the 10th house, which I find is really cool, because that's your career house.
right,
So you always, like, I remember I told you have good luck with your career, because you got Jupiter in the 10th house and you got all this Scorpio there. And anything you do that's deep and healing and helps other people, you're gonna have good luck and good fortune with it, you know.
yes. While you're talking about how us eighth housers attract people in, like who wants to, talk about their life and all that deep stuff, I was wondering about, doesn't that happen to us as 12 housers too? Is that a 12 house thing as well?
Yes. 12th house people as well are angels, and they also attract people that need help. And it's a little different because they lack boundaries.
Mm,
And so they tend to take on everybody's stuff and make it,
right,
they got to be the savior, the martyr, and fix them and help them. Where eighth housers are just deep and they listen, like you said, you just listen to them, and and you just are really deep and quiet, and just your presence. Like eighth house people, they know how to have boundaries a little bit better than 12th house people, I think. And I'm looking here on, we got Crystal, hi Crystal Kennedy put on the chat, she's South Node Scorpio and she can relate, but I've come to realize that I'm stepping into my North Node in Taurus. Yeah, so Crystal, you and I are flip nodes. I've been a Taurus South Node, now I'm having to be a North Node Scorpio. So what I've learned, you're now learning, and what you learned, I'm learning. So it's like we could help each other. It is interesting, as we get older, we start moving into our soul mission, which is the North Node in our chart, which it looks like a little horseshoe thing. And we have our past lives, which for you, Des, you mastered the 12th house. So you've already
right,
been an angel. I mean, and you've got Mars there and Neptune, the ruler of the 12th, in your 12th, and it's in Sagittarius. But you've got the South Node in Capricorn in the 12th house, North Node Cancer in the 6th house Virgo, it's really about, you've already been spiritual and studied spiritual things. And so that's probably, why we clicked and you had an interest in astrology, You
Hmm.
started learning it after we met, years ago, and bring it into your work and with people and your kids, and and learn about them, and it's just such a powerful tool, a counseling tool, like a psychological tool, and I know that it really helps people. And so you're really learning to, I've seen what you're doing in your life and in your journey, and you're really learning to do the practical service, balancing the 12th and 6th houses, balancing that spiritual service, escaping from the world, wanting to have a spiritual path, wanting peace, harmony, with having to go into the world and do practical service. So, and nurture others. So you're learning to nurture other people and nurture yourself. That's big with your North Node in Cancer, is nurturing and service,
Yeah.
helping people in a practical way, not taking on all their problems for them, you know.
Right.
And so you kind of are doing that, as a coach, you said you're coaching people virtually and on the phone. Like, what kind of clients do you work with? Like, do you tap into your 8th house and Scorpio gifts when you're doing coaching?
Um, I would say so. uh, I mean, like when I'm working with them, I'm just genuinely myself. I don't want to be anybody else. I just connect with them on a human level. Really try just focusing on what it is they want to accomplish or what their goal is. The kind of clients that I work with my life coaching, majority of them are from the mainland. There's I do have some here on in Hawaii, but
Yeah.
for some reason, a lot of people from the mainland
Yeah.
um, prefer life coaching over therapy.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I've noticed with the clients I've been
Yeah.
working with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Whereas here on Oahu or Hawaii, in Hawaii, it seems like most people would want to go through therapy, especially because their medical insurance covers it, right?
Yes.
But it seems like just when I look at the clientele, and that's what I'm just kind of seeing in general.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
So Des, for the listeners, we got some folks watching. Crystal said, she's the sun, has the sun in the 12th house. I do too, Crystal. And man, yeah, boundaries were a real life lesson. And I've learned to be strong. I kind of feel like, when you knew me, Des, I feel like I was not strong, and I didn't have, good boundaries really yet. I was still kind of, I was like, I used to ask you all the time, how do I be a Scorpio man? Like, how teach me, like, I'm a North Node Scorpio. I want to master it because I'm sick of this. I'm sick of having to learn this lesson, man. So, and I gotta say, through experience, and we can't deny our birth chart, through having 8th and 12th house planets, being phoenixes and angels, we learn by going through pain. Unfortunately, I think that's part of why we have to go through certain life things, and there's a reason. Everything you went through, everything I went through, all these things we go through in our life are kind of our soul's journey, that I believe we choose it before we come, but we don't remember. You're like, why, Carmen, I would never choose this. I'm like, well, you did, and I believe I did too. And then we learn, and then we get to where we're supposed to be, and through experience, because there's no greater teacher than experience. And that's what I've learned, because I had to live through things, and I had to emotionally heal and adapt and keep going forward, and I believe astrology can make us more resilient. And I think, as a Scorpio stellium and an 8th houser, and your 12th houser, I really think that, these are the most spiritual houses. So I guess, what kind of advice do you have for the 8th and 12th house people that are listening in? Like, what's helped you overcome? I know you talked a little bit about forgiveness. What helps you, move forward and keep going, and what makes you strong even when life is hard? Like, what helps you adapt and overcome and be resilient, to life's crisis and all these things?
Yeah, that's a jam-packed question.
I know we don't have a
All
ton of
I
time. I think we got like 5 minutes. 5 minutes.
all I can really say is like it, trust, for 8th and 12th houses, we're very intuitive. We are especially with 12th house, we have such a spiritual gift. Well, 8 and 12, such a spiritual gift, and we just want to be confident with it. Just know that that's with you, God, God or whoever, you were born with this. You were born with this gift, um and trusting in it, trusting in your intuition, and just using it for using it on your path.
Yeah.
That's I mean, I wish I had something more to tell you,
Oh,
but like that's really what my tips would be, is
yeah.
because I think that was the hard part for me at the beginning. I didn't trust I knew I was intuitive. I've heard this throughout my whole life. I had several teachers telling me this from when I was young, but I never trusted it. I you know
You
I
doubted
think I
yourself. Yeah.
didn't start trusting it until I met you. That's when I went through my process of like
Oh, cool.
actually trusting what I have.
Yeah.
Um,
That's really cool. Yeah, I mean we got about 3 minutes left. So but I want you to get to tell us a little bit where they can find you and things like that here in a minute. But you're right, like learning to trust yourself and your own intuition, and like there's 8th and 12th house people listening, right now, live in the group. I have it streaming. So
Oh,
it's pretty cool in the 12th house Facebook group. Yeah, Des has been a part of the groups for many, many years. And so thank you, Des. And I think that's the big theme is, we learn when we doubt our intuition, when we don't listen, because it is a spiritual gift that 12th and 8th house people have different abilities. They have these different gifts. And I talk a little bit about it in my new book, Phoenixes and Angels, Mastering the 8th and 12th astrological houses. If you haven't grabbed a copy, it's out. I go into detail about that. Trust in your intuition, your dreams, believing in yourself and not doubting yourself. And sometimes we have to learn by not listening. And I'm like, I knew it, right? And so we got a couple minutes left. Tell everybody where they can find you. Where's your website? What are some of your social media links, Des, for the listeners out there?
um, okay. I can spell it out because I don't have anything to
What,
show right now.
you want me to say it? Life, www.lifecoachthisisyourjourney.com.
Yes.
Lifecoachthisisyourjourney.com. You can find Des. And also you're on Instagram. You have an Instagram page, Des?
Yes, I do.
What's the name of it where they
Um,
can find you on Insta?
oh my goodness.
It's
I am
Des,
so sorry.
it's Des Santana.
I think it's Des T DEZTIYJ.
All right. And if you
Is
can
that it?
contact me too if you want to find, get with Des, but she does have her website, life coach this is your journey.com. She's out in Hawaii, but she does a lot of clients in the mainland. And I think we got like less than a minute left, but Des, I want to thank you for coming on and being my friend all these years, and knowing you helped me embrace my Scorpio North Node. And I'm like, hey, I want to be like Des, and I want to be able to cut things off and forgive and not let certain things back in my life and people. And it took a long time to learn it, but I'm getting there. So for all the listeners out there, thank you for listening in. You can find more about the show at www.carmenturnerschott.com. You can follow my YouTube channel. Carmen Turner Schott is my handle, and my Instagram, Carmen Turner Schott Author, and Facebook, Deep Soul Divers Astrology, Carmen Turner Schott. Love for you to follow and message. And if you listen to this, you want to reach out to Des, you can contact me and I'll get you in touch with her. But thanks for joining, Des. We're wrapping up here in a couple seconds. Thanks for everybody that watched or listened in. And again, you know, grab Phoenixes and Angels. It's out there. Appreciate everybody. Thank you.
Thank you.
Audio Jungle. Audio Jungle.